do you know what it is? It's the whole thing, the whole podcast is about being British.
Yeah.
I think so.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't work with an American.
Yeah, we've got no
would it?
American guests.
Okay. This is how I want my hair. Do it.
Yeah.
No, it's no good.
You've done it wrong.
Yeah.
Put the hair back on.
Yeah.
I'll sue you.
I'm already suing you.
Hello, I'm Luke Spillane.
And I'm Chris Allen.
And welcome to Doing the Thing, the podcast aiming to unravel social anxiety one thing at a time.
Yes, we're here to celebrate the little things that make you feel weird and awkward and sweaty.
But having these things makes you completely human, so well done.
And also, well done, and a big thank you to everyone who listened, liked, reviewed, downloaded, shared, came up and said well done to us about our first episode. With Bethany Black.
Yes, we're here, episode 2. It's been quite overwhelming, actually. I genuinely, that first weekend when we launched it was almost just didn't know how to react. It was quite...
Nice, though.
Yeah.
It's been really lovely. And I think, like your original Instagram posts, it's been just a really lovely, positive reaction. And it's kind of lovely... once again to be reminded that people have those things,
totally.
as we all do, and it sort of feels like a little community thing already, which is kind of cute.
Yeah, it's been very lovely, and like say, positive reaction, which is like so nice.
Also, a big shout out to my friend Lucy, whose husband Mark was very confused as to why she was talking to me in her bathroom first thing in the morning. So, hi Mark, hope you're enjoying your shreddies. Also, we should mention, plug. We are available currently on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Stitcher, and all the links are available at doingthethingpodcast.com/subscribe.
Yes.
So if you haven't already, do it.
Yep.
If you have, leave a review or only if it's a nice one, please. If it's a shit review, don't bother.
And you can also follow us on all the social platforms. We're on Twitter at Doing the Podcast, Instagram at Doing the Thing Podcast, and Facebook at /Doing the Thing Podcast. I've particularly been enjoying on Instagram. We've had so many people sending us their things, which I really like, that we've been kind of sharing on a daily basis. I think because it started there, it's been quite a nice little conversation over there. So do give us a follow. But we should get to this episode.
We should. And I think, interestingly enough, today, someone tweeted us.
Yes, they did.
About this very subject.
Yes.
Saying, it's your old flatmate.
It's my old flatmate, Will Dixon. Yeah.
Hello,
and
Will.
Good friend and plays guitar in my comedy group.
Oh, lovely boy. And we didn't pay him to say this, but he said he was going to try a new barber today. And he didn't know if it was a doing a thing, but he felt it was a doing the thing. And we were like,
oh my God.
Did you read our minds here? Because that's today's chat.
Yes.
This week's guest, in my humble opinion, is a national treasure waiting to happen. Everyone talks about Stephen Fry and Judi Dench, but you've got to look for the next tier. Who's going to come up? You know?
Today we're joined by Mark Gatiss. Mark is an actor, writer, painter, and strangler, according to his Twitter bio. He's 1/4 of the League of Gentlemen and half of the team behind Sherlock, and soon a rebooted Dracula. So we grabbed a quick chat with him about his thing recently.
So when we first spoke, you mentioned about a fear of getting your hair cut when you were younger. Can you just tell me about that?
Oh, I did. I used to be terribly afraid of speaking to barbers. Went on for years, this. I just hated the notion of it's not really the small talk, it was just the sort of interaction. I mean, when I was little, I used to sit on a box, to go to the barbers like we all did, but it must have started there. I always loved having my hair cut because I used to find the razor in the back of my head made me feel funny.
That's very pleasant.
Loved it. It's never quite the same when you grow up. But then by the time I went on my own, the idea of a man in a grey coat, as they used to wear them, the barbers used to wear those sort of strange, sort of saying, what are you up to? Or something for the weekend, so it filled me with such horror. I couldn't bear it. And it actually got to such a point when I was about 14, I went for a haircut and I pretended I had laryngitis. And I handed the barber a note saying, I've lost my voice. Please cut my hair like this. Wow. And then I think I must have thought, this is fucking ridiculous. And then I got over it. Although I still don't like it.
No. So did you just... So you kept going. You didn't let your hair grow.
No,
because this reminded me of something that it really fired off for me. That at the end of university, I got to the same point where I then bought myself hair clippers.
That's strange.
And cut my own
to
hair.
avoid the whole process.
Do you know what it is? I would say that for me, the root of it is I'm a very gregarious person, but at heart, I still have a weird horror of social interaction. I find myself increasingly these days on my way to a do, slightly catastrophizing it, only to find that when I get there, I have a great time.
Everyone's very nice.
Everyone's fine. But I still, and I think it comes from that. It's a sort of lingering fear of that. And it's weird, isn't it? But I think that's definitely what it is.
I think that's so interesting because the more we talk to people for this and the more that people send us in their, particular fears and
Their problems.
and anxieties from home.
It's like
their things.
It's like the agony column in Jackie.
I wish we could. But the more we learn about it, I think we realize everyone has that dysfunction.
Oh, that's right. Then we should all agree to not go to a party again.
Or just agree that everyone's going to be perfectly reasonable when we get there.
Yes.
But I think it is quite true that most people, however, I think this is one of the things we find fascinating about it is that people who are, and one of the things we want to do is meet gregarious people such as yourself, famous people who people think are terribly confident and terribly well adjusted. And
Never confuse your insides with somebody else's outsides. That's what a wise man once said to me. It's absolutely true. You can see people who appear to be super confident, and you can know it's quite comforting that inside they're just a writhing mass of terror, worms.
I like the fact that you talked about, Chris, the fact that it's a specific moment for you in the Barbers, which is when they pull out the mirror for the back of your neck.
I still hate this. So I now go to I book in with the same gentleman every so. He's a very nice guy, but it's still the bit where he shows me the back of my head as if. Like, I'm sorry, Matt, if you're listening, it's lovely, but it's like, ta-da, it's the back of your head. It's like, and you have to go, yes.
Yeah. Oh, but is it a fear of sort of saying, what if you think, no, it's not right? Would you be afraid to complain?
Or is it also the fact, because that to me rings bells of going, well, is it the fact that you have to sit somewhere and go, I want to look like this and I look good? And you have to acknowledge that you're like, this is how I want to look. And I'm very happy with how I look. And having to actually, in an open space, go, yes, I look good.
It's a fear of raising your voice. I don't like, to this day, having a conversation in a barber shop with other people in it. Because I feel, I find myself talking slightly like that. I take it down a notch because it feels... Do you know what it is? It's the whole thing, the whole podcast is about being British.
Yeah.
I think so.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't work with an American.
Yeah, we've got no American guests.
No American guests.
None of them want to do it.
Imagine. Okay, this is how I want my hair. Do it. Yeah. No, it's no good. You've done it wrong. Yeah. Put the hair back on.
Yeah.
I'll sue you.
I'm already suing you. All Americans are like that.
Yeah.
There is no difference.
No, you're right. And I think there is... it's... Haircut, I'm so fascinated because you said, because it's suddenly just spiraled off a lot for me because they're very intimate, I think, because someone's touching you and being quite physical with you. But often...
Give me the name of your barber.
But often if you're going to like a walk, broadly typifying, if you're going to a walk-in, like we're talking when I was at uni and when you were younger, that's probably a heterosexual man who's doing your hair, but yet this quite intimate act. Then there's that whole aspect I used to hate, which is, did you see the game last night? Which I genuinely used to ask back in the day when I was at home. And I had nothing. I had no social currency there. I don't even support a big team or have any. My dad didn't, so I had no sort of...
God, you couldn't even fake it.
Couldn't even fake it.
But do you find that this is a version of taxi talk, isn't it? Cab driver talk.
Yeah.
Now, I'm rather good at that because what I do is I pretend to be heterosexual. And it's a bit like sort of role play. I just go for it. I rarely initiate it, but it happens so often. You know, the assumption that you're rushing home to see the big game. And I'll just pluck little bits of information out of the air, which I've got off the news, and have a conversation, about Messi or something. And I love it.
That's amazing.
Quite good at it. In fact, by the time I get home, I'm almost get ready to get married to a woman.
So actually,
I mean, you're a heterosexual though.
So actually,
on the podcast.
I'm awful. I don't like football.
You're a crap heterosexual.
I hate that talk. I despise it.
Might as well give in.
Yeah, I despise it. But that's so interesting. I love the fact of going to the barbers now and being like, well, what character shall I become today? Do you think that makes it exciting?
I've never tried it at barbers. Maybe the security at the back of a cab is alright, but I wonder if you could, if I'd feel the same in a bar. I'd feel slightly more exposed. But you put your finger on something. Rather your barber did. But there's also the fear of going to a gay barber.
Yes.
Now, you might think that going to a much more welcoming, let's call it a salon environment, but there's another thing that comes in there, which is like,
are you then able to relax enough to actually enjoy it? Or do you become even...
Is it too much? Yeah, it's like,
too much.
Too much. I'm not touching you. Oh, God, his balls touch my hand.
The head massage, all those things. Like, this is how it's supposed to be.
Mine started doing tipping you forward. Like I went to one once for a while to
Is he
wash your hair.
burping you?
And it was tipping. It was like, so you'd get to the edge of the basin and put your head forward rather than a lean back. Oh, wasn't
But
clean.
the basin's terrifying me because I read once years ago that lots of people have strokes when they're having their hair washed at the hairdressers. A lot of people have strokes. It's a very awkward position for your neck, either forwards or backwards.
The only woman in the room finds it lovely.
Oh God, it's my favourite.
Having your hair washed.
And it's so lovely.
See,
I hate it. I sit there tense for the whole thing.
a female friend of mine, following on from what you said, a female friend of mine she went through a series of like her mum passed away from cancer reasonably young and stuff like this, and she had this kind of, it's that thing in the small talk where she would just pretend to be someone else because she found the intimacy of it and the kind of the truth of her own life not too much to bear, but like kind of just like, I'm not going to get into that now, so I'm going to talk. She used to make up a different life every time she went and had her hair done.
That's good. I think maybe that's good advice. I think if you could pull that off at the barbers, why not? Unless then of course you have a regular and they start to know what you do, then you get caught in your own lie.
Yeah.
Like being a spy.
It's definitely one of those environments where you become like a chameleon, don't you? You do turn into whatever they're talking about. I went to the barbers recently and I hate the whole experience, and it's the only reason I keep my hair long, to avoid going to the barbers as much as possible.
Sideline as a Paul McCartney impersonator.
Also that. But I went recently and I went to a new place, and the guy... It's in a nice area, and they've just opened up a really fancy cinema, which is opposite, which is completely like gentrifying the area. And obviously, I'm talking to him, going like, "Oh, what do you think of the new cinema?" And I thought in my head, I'm like, "Why have I asked him that? Because whatever he says, I'm going to have to agree with it." And he's like, "Oh, all these new folk coming in." I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's awful." I was at the cinema a week before, being like, "This is so lovely, and every man in our area, it's so nice." But you become completely like,
it's a survival mechanism.
You're in the palm of their hand.
Then you get your haircut. What are we talking?
I know.
Nonsense.
I know.
And then just sort of to add on to this, are you nervous about your work and putting yourself out there? Because that is quite an exposure.
No, it's totally different. Don't give a monkeys. I don't.
No.
I think you have to have a measure of self-belief to do it anyway, and I don't worry about that. That's a very interesting thing. I'm more nervous going to the barbers than about doing this talk or anything like that. And that's not arrogance at all. Honestly, it's not. It's just you just think, well, that's like you can like it or not like it. It doesn't really impinge on me. I want to do it. I've made it. Haircuts, however.
Are you happy with them now?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty good now. Yeah, I'm pretty good.
I met your barber.
Yes, you have. Yeah,
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, Tom, he's great. Yeah, he knows how to do it.
Yeah.
He gets the.
Doesn't talk.
He does talk, but it's all right. He talks about Julia Davis, so we have common ground.
Excellent. The trick is to find the right barber.
Yes.
That's all it is.
It's the right small talk.
The trick is to keep breathing.
Never confuse someone's outsides with your insides.
As a wise man once told another wise man, Mark Gatiss,
who then told us.
That
That, although I think really
excellent quote to live by.
absolutely put his finger on a big part of what this podcast is. There. I thought he's really cut to the crux.
Yeah, totally. I love that quote so much. Also, just Mark talking about being gregarious, but inside being
A writhing mass of terror. Worms.
the horror of social interaction. He was talking about that. It's just always there. We all have it. It's all there within us all.
So I thought he was very interesting, though, because he demonstrates something that we don't necessarily have, you and I, in that we took quite a long time to get here and getting this podcast out. But he doesn't give a shit about what people think about his work. He has a
love
confidence
that.
in the
Yeah,
work, which
yeah.
is really interesting.
Yeah, this is my work.
It's great.
And
This is my
he's
work and
proud
here
of it, and so he should be. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I suppose
We're a
we
bit more
feel different about
modest
our
about
work.
yeah.
Like, it's that terror of. It's that terror of being like,
This is terror, by the way.
yeah, that terror of going, this is my work and I'm proud of it. I've had that. I get it, but it's like not all the time.
But yes, back to haircuts anyway.
Yes.
Because that was sort of the crux of it. And I think that's really interesting that it opened up a whole new thing for me. I'd never really considered this being an issue for people. And yet it has been for me in the past and for many others, I think. In a hysterical twist of happenstance. Again, this seems like the most contrived fucking thing going on, and it honestly isn't. But when we recorded with Mark, I was happily in a long-term relationship with a hairdresser.
Yes.
He has now moved on.
Oh, no.
And so I was then booked in with a new person.
Uh-oh.
Maybe I should just let me explain. I'm not going to Instagram this because I'm not Luke Spillane, but I've got to literally, hilariously, considering the show we've got planned, I've got to go and get my hair cut, but with a new hairdresser for the first time in about 2 years, I think. I've actually got to get like essentially a random stranger, trained, but a random stranger to do my hair. So I'm feeling kind of nervous. I'm just not really in a sort of confident frame of mind where I want to be like, hey, you know, this is me, this is what I do. Oh yeah, you know. Anyway, whatever happens, I'll have a nice new haircut, and maybe he'll do something mad to it. There we go. Look, there's a positive out of it. Maybe he'll do something completely bonkers. I'll end up with an exciting new haircut. God, what a whingy bitch I am.
No, I think it's nice. You're like, it's nice hearing you like in the raw doing the thing moment. Like you're so.
I thought homage to you.
Yeah.
Homage to you. Well, you know, it was a bit stressful.
Yeah.
I felt like
Clammy
this
hands
is
going in.
so fucking first world, isn't it? This is the problem.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you know, when
yeah.
Mark says, if we just talk about a haircut.
Yeah, of course we are. But
it's so true. Like the worst thing about it, he was very nice. It was fine. The worst thing about it was having to then describe to him what I wanted done to my hair, as opposed to same again, and I'd go and it would be fine, and then we could just talk about something
you fall
else.
into a pattern. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
so comfortable.
and it was so like dating. It was a little bit like that moment when you first arrived to the date after like meeting online or something.
Yeah.
And you look at each other and go, oh, you're a bit different to how you looked in your pictures. And it was that moment of just like, yeah, no. And he was like, so talk to me about your haircut. I'm like, I'm smaller. Smaller, shorter, quicker, faster. And he was like, he was asking what grade I wanted. I don't fucking remember. I should have grilled my old hairdresser and got the notes.
Right, yeah.
So as a result, I don't think I've gone as short on the back of sides as I normally like to.
Yeah, it's not as short actually.
And I
just
came away
noticed,
and did text my boyfriend and go, I feel like I've got a little dad haircut at the moment, and I felt like a little old man. Like my hair would get done up the sides, really high and tight. And I'd be
Right,
like,
yeah.
I feel quite young today.
Oh,
I feel
you
quite.
didn't feel like that yesterday?
No, I came away and
no.
went, I feel really old.
Since it's just
today.
first date.
It might, yeah.
Second date will go better. Oh no.
Not sure about second date, mate.
Oh no, really? You're gonna
I've rebooked.
change.
Watch this space. I've rebooked, but I could.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I think your thing about you have to sit in a shop and go, I want to look like this because I think it makes me look nicest.
I'm not somebody to actually go, I don't know, yes, I think I look brilliant and I think I look the best I can look. I'm just like, I'm happy with how I look, whatever. So I think it's a very odd environment to go in and for me to go, I want to look like this. And I don't know, this might just be a me thing, I don't know. But I want to look like this and that's how I want to look and I will be happy when I look. That almost in itself is really revealing. I mean, I look in the mirror in the morning and I put some clothes on and go, yeah, okay, off I go. Like, but I don't like, I'm just not a person who looks in the mirror and goes, wow. Like,
Neither do I, but I do try
No,
to
not like
aim
saying
for
everyone.
that. I
Yes,
don't just
maybe
go
I
in,
should.
oh, fuck it.
Right, yeah.
I never quite make it, but I give it a go.
So that whole experience in itself is, looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, yes, I look good. Thanks so much. Here's some money for making me look good.
Look
like,
good, yeah.
Very weird. I thought it was so interesting, the whole creating a character when you're in these situations like barbers or taxis. That to me was like a whole new level of acting school of like, oh, that's actually quite exciting. But like I've had barbers before where I had this one guy who was talking about like clubbing and going out all the time. And I just found myself being like, yeah, man, sounds great. Going along with like, and mentioning like maybe like the 2 places I'd ever been in London, like just having to climatize to their chat because you're in their hands.
But I think all of that nets down to being a good listener and reading the room, reading your audience.
Yeah, no, totally. It is interesting. I will only talk about certain things just because I don't want to bore people with what I want to talk about unless they give me the kind of the go ahead.
True, yeah.
If somebody talks about my favorite TV show, let's say, I won't usually bring that up until they've brought that up or something. So it's about listening, isn't it? And if I was a taxi driver, would I start ranting about
I probably would, to be honest.
Maybe. But yes, I thought the whole small talk thing is interesting, acclimatizing to what other people want to talk about. And sometimes that acclimatizing is mad because, as Mark said, he was creating characters in the back of taxis and stuff, like which
heterosexual characters.
You know, and he's going home to marry his wife, you know, like that's...
But it's interesting because actually that does touch on, I went to see a hypnotherapist a while ago for anxiety, and she did recommend that I try to perform the role of a confident person.
Right.
In circumstances where...
You're not.
I'm not.
That's kind of how a lot of us deal with it, right? Is you cover it up. You know, I mean, essentially I'm playing the character of confident Luke a lot of the time. So you mentioned in the chat with Mark that you cut your own hair.
I did.
Did you do that you did it because you didn't want that social situation?
I think I recognise it now as
that you did. Yeah.
I think back in the time I sort of categorised it as something to do with money. For 30 quid at Argos, I could buy like a wall hair clipping kit, which I still have and still works. But I'd gone to loads and loads of salons in Leamington where I lived after uni. And I remember in one of them, the guy went, "Oh yeah, I can make you look like Jude Law." This is how long ago it was.
Was he the star at the time?
I think it was the Talented Mr. Ripley era. Jude
Oh,
Law
okay,
well.
right, yeah.
You know, at the time, very popular haircut was to have hair that went in about 9 directions at the same time. You know, you'd get one of those wax sticks and rub it on your head and you'd look.
Gotcha.
And I remember seeing these pictures of men in magazines and they looked like gorgeous, kind of like just got out of bed, absolute stunning kind of thing. And I'd be like, I want to look.
I can do that.
I can do that. And the man in the shop was like, "Oh yeah, you can do that." You couldn't. And that's nothing to do with the man's ability. It was all to do with my hair, because I've got very thin hair and very fine hair, and so you can't put too much product in it. It doesn't really work very well. Not like yours. Complete antithesis of your, you know,
thick,
massive woolly hair, which I'm very jealous of.
I only have this to cover up my massive head, as we previously established.
See episode 0. After several unsuccessful experiments where, you know,
yourself.
I thought, you know what, sod it, I'm going to do it myself. But actually, I think I realised now a lot of it was to do with the anxiety of going into shops. I tried Barbers as well, didn't like that. Again, a lot for the chat, the football vibe, the kind of, it was very weird. So I cut my own hair off. But actually, I think a lot of it, now looking back, was possibly to do with the fact that my hair had started to go at the back as well.
Right. Okay.
And for those of you on the podcast, I looked like I've put on a yarmulke with a firecracker in it and lost the back of my hair. I say Prince William 5 years ago.
Right, okay.
And I think, you know, that was probably a thing as well.
Right, that's interesting.
Which is a big driver.
So you were closing up about that. You didn't want to go to the barbers about that.
I don't love it, but my general view is I don't have to see it. And then I'm only ever reminded that it's like that when I get in a lift with 2 mirrors or a changing room, changing room at a shop, trying on fitting room, or someone takes a picture of the back of your head at like a party or something, and you see it all like filming or something. You go, Christ, who's that bold twat? But I do think for a long time it was like a kind of a bit of a rejection of that as well. There we go.
That's interesting.
I've gone deep.
Yeah, no, it's good. That's good.
Yeah. For me, the absolute worst thing, and where I'll always take my hat off to you, is moving images. Like, I am not a fan of myself on video, which is why podcasts are brilliant.
Yeah, right. That has, I think, being in it. So I have a YouTube channel. I'm in a comedy group, and I put myself in videos lots, doing stupid things a lot. I think because I started that so early in the internet generation, that's become completely normal. Actually, I prefer seeing myself do stupid things and seeing myself taking myself seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so glad this isn't a video, because I'd look at myself and be like, "Oh, shut up, Luke, what are you talking about?" Like,
again, I'd be like, "Who's that bald twat with the flappy hands?"
And I'd be like, "Who's that guy with the massive head and the thick hair?" And
welcome to the self-esteem half hour.
Gosh, it's really turned into a self-esteem episode.
It has, hasn't it? No, look, we should try and be more positive. Yes. We've done the thing. Look, this is a second one.
Yes, we've done episode 2.
We haven't done it. Don't turn off. Let's look at what things we've done this week. So, Luke.
No, now this has turned into a new segment that I haven't prepped myself for.
In episode 0 and in episode 1, bear in mind...
There was 8 months between...
8 months. Let's call it 9 months, really, by the time this episode goes out.
Yeah.
Let's ask Luke whether he's signed up with his GP. Luke.
I have not signed up with my GP. So I've had quite a few people come up to me about it. In fact, I had one great colleague today who told me about an app that I can do it all on, which you were Chris was there at the time, was very cross about the whole thing.
I mean, I don't mind it as a get around. This isn't bullying corner, but I do feel like I have to bully you slightly.
I want to go in. I want to prove to myself that I can go in and do that thing.
Yes.
Because it's so easy. It's not even a thing. It's so easy. I just have to walk down to the doctors and make some time and go and talk to someone and just say hello. I
big head disease.
It's so easy to go in and do it. I just don't know why I haven't done it. But it's become, I think the reason why I'm making it my thing at the moment is because it's one of those things where there's little things that always happens where you don't do it for a bit, and then because you haven't done it for a bit, you don't do it for a bit longer, and then you don't do it for really long because you haven't done it. And it's just snowballed into this thing that I haven't done for about 4 years. And that's mad.
Has your mum been on at you as well?
She hasn't. She's sent. Since episode 1's come out, she's said that she loves the show. She asked me to send her all the photos.
Oh yeah,
they're all the really important stuff. My grandma's already texted me about them because my grandma can now text me saying, "Can I have those photos?"
Pop down snappy snaps, get them done.
I've got to put them in a frame. So as long as you're willing, you're going to be on my grandma's.
Absolutely fine. Older ladies really into me.
But yes, by the time this next one comes out, I will hopefully have signed up to a GP.
Nice. And I talked to some strangers at a networking event.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, wow. How did that go?
Did
you really have to push yourself?
To be fair, she said hello to me first.
Oh, okay.
But then that was a really good in, and I had a good chat with her. Great. And then I was at like a table, and then I talked to the other lady and the other guy, and yeah, we all had but I didn't meet any of them before, so it was kind of nice.
Great.
That's
really
so I
good.
felt good. I felt like
well
I'd
done.
achieved something. And it's really sort of like dumb, isn't it?
Yeah,
but
no, it's not at all.
Talking
to new people, always terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, actually, a kind of a side thing that I did, for a work event, I got asked to host a panel, which actually was today at the day of recording.
You did, yes.
I got asked to host a panel,
and
that
very good your work.
Email, thank you. I really enjoyed it. That email came in asking me to do it, and my head immediately went like, no, what? Like I immediately freaked out. But actually, because this thing is going now, I kind of just went, nope, I can only say yes to this. I cannot say no. I have to do the thing. So that was my thing I've done this week in place of being to the GP. But I will go to the GP by the time of the next episode.
Let's look at your Postberg now that people have sent in.
Yes, so I had one asking me on Instagram about asking whether a place has vegan options. And they said that instead they just asked for a bowl of fries, please.
That one's from Thor, by the way. If you remember, we said that if people wanted to be anonymous, we would give them superhero names.
Yes.
So that's
from Thor. Yeah. Vegan Thor.
Vegan Thor. Really good. It's a really interesting one. Hadn't thought about that.
That's
having
really
having anxiety and / the confidence to say what are your vegan options.
Yeah, I had a case recently. So I'm a pescatarian and I eat fish. And I was in a pub. We were doing a gig the other week, and I was in a pub, and there was a chicken Caesar salad on the menu. And so I went up and said, "Can I have a veggie version of this?" Which ended up being like I'd asked for like a dog turd on a plate. I was like, yeah, no chicken. And she was like, so you don't want the bacon as well? I'm like, no, I don't want the bacon. And then actually I kind of gave up. And she went, oh, and the anchovies. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. I eat fish. That's okay, isn't it? And I just kind of became really nervous. Yeah, that's a great one, though. We've not had one like that before. That's really good.
Completely new. And then another classic here. This one's from Captain Marvel. They said, speaking on the phone.
Yeah, we keep getting this one.
And we need to get a guest to come on and talk about speaking on the phone. I think we'll be sure to them. I'll always email first, says our writer Rinna, especially don't like answering the phone at work if I don't know who it is. And if I do have to call someone, I have to figure everything out that I'm going to say in advance, in my head, every sentence, if possible. And this is something I've done. I have scripted. If I've got to call someone, I've written myself a little script. Like sometimes just like lengthy bullet points. Sometimes actually like, "Hi, I'm Chris, and this is what I want." Yeah.
When it's people I've never spoken to before. If it's somebody I've had calls from people that I deal with at work, and I'm fine with that, and I'm okay once I'm on the phone. But when it's people I've never spoken to before, that's terrifying. But yes, we will endeavour to make a whole episode, I think, around phone calls.
Well done. We did the thing. Episode 2.
Episode 2. Well, hopefully there'll be an episode 3. There will be an episode 3.
There will be an episode 3. We'll see you next time. You've been listening to Doing the Thing with Luke Spillane and Chris Allen. Massive thanks to our special guest, Mark Gatiss, and to Blair Matt, who drop us an email on doingthethingpodcast@gmail.com or tweet us at doingthepodcast. And don't forget, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. All the links are at doingthethingpodcast.com/subscribe. Doing the thing, the whole music, doing the thing.